Yeah, and then I was in the office and I started to shit myself. I said, I'm over my head. You know, I've told them to be lies. I'm in this big boardroom with these ruthless guys. And they're saying, tell me what you've done before. And I said, I can't remember. I said, I just told him, let him tell you. So the casting director got it. I won't remember what I said. And then I thought, I gotta get out of here. This is way too big for me. I really did. I felt that way, and I was not showing my fear. Because when I walked in the office, Barry Saltzman had his feet up on the desk, and I didn't like sitting in front of people's feet. And he had his shoes off, talking on the phone, and pointed at the chair in front of me. And I went over and looked out the window. And I said, geez, I'm not sitting in front of them. They look like they're going to stink from here. And so and then he got up, put his shoes on, he came over with a bit of respect. He said, tell me your life story. And I thought, oh shit, I just told the casting guy I could screw up here. I said, I just told him, let him tell you. And so that's what they're looking for. They're looking for this guy that's self-assured. But I was acting. I was really acting. I was thinking, oh, I gotta get out of here. These guys are too hot and heavy for me. And he said, where are you, when's the director coming back into town? They said, oh, he's in Switzerland doing location hunting. He'll be back at 4 o'clock tomorrow. He said, you be here at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And I said, this is my out. I said, no, I can't be. I'll be in Paris working on a film. I did. And he said, what's it going to cost to keep you here? And I said, well, I'm getting £500 a day, which was 50 weeks' wages, by the way. And I said, that'll get me out. And he says, go down and see Stanley Sapel, who's still alive, and he'll give you £500 to be back here at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And I said, holy moly. And then I called the agent bill that sent me in, and they said, how'd you go? And I said, they give me 500 quid to come back tomorrow. I said, yeah, right. No, seriously, how'd that happen? I said, they did. She rushed down to look at the check. She couldn't believe it. And so then that night I looked for an acting teacher. I did. And I found this guy, and he said, first thing you got to do is be honest.
Did you look through the phone? Is that how you found
No, no. I knew a guy that was an acting teacher in this apartment where I used to live, in Kings Road. And I went and told him I'm up for the James Bond job, and he teach me how to act by tomorrow morning. I'm serious. So he calls up his friend, who's the guy who ended up managing me, Rhoda Riley, and says, I've got this guy here. He says he's up for James Bond. And so they said, you've got to do this little exercise to see if you can act. We're going to put a key in the room. And by this time, there's 5 or 6 guys in that room. And he said, we're going to put a key, hide in the room somewhere, and you've got to come in and point where it is. I came in, I'm looking around, I couldn't see it. It was one of these colored carpets, and was sitting right between my legs. And they said, there it is there. And I tried again. He said, but this time, don't think what we're thinking about. Just come in and look for the key. And then I saw it, but there. He said, you can act. So it's like he cut out the people looking at you. I didn't know what they were talking about. But anyway, next day I thought, I got a level with this. I got to, go and show the director I can act. And when he came, he was really cheesed off because he had some friends in Switzerland that were having a good time, and he wasn't planning on coming back the next day. And Harry said, get your butt over here. So Peter's really pissed off at me. Just before I woke up, and you can see someone with a seething. And he said, tell me what you've done. I don't know what made me do this. I just said, nothing. And he said, what? He said, they've just brought me back from Switzerland. Tell me how good you are. What is this? You've done nothing. I said, I've done nothing, Peter. I just bullshitted him. He said, you saying you're not an actor? He said, you fooled 2 of the most ruthless men I've ever met in my life. He said, stick to your story and I'll make you the next James Bond. So, the next bit, we get over across the road and Peter's saying, just stick to your story. Don't say anything. We walk in and Cubby Broccoli said, get him out of here. He's a clothes peg. We'll be the laughing stock of the industry. The clothes peg. My Australian hair started to frizzle on my neck. I said, one more time, and I'm going to go for your neck. And so he said, and then Peter says, now we're going to test him. And he said, we'll be the laughing stock of the industry. He's a model. You can't have a model as James Bond. Peter says, let me test him. So he took me out to Harry's place. I'd never tested in the studio because they didn't want know that I was testing a model. And so they gave me a good test. One of them was a sex test. A lot of models in those days were both ways, you know, or something. So I said, what if he's one of them, you know? So one night, I'm in this room in the next to the Dorchester Grove in the house. They gave me a nice suite that they held me up in, and a guy called John Daly from Hemdale Films knocks on the door, and he's got this gorgeous chick. He said, this girl wants to make love to you. I said, oh, really? So we did. And I didn't know. This guy was a friend of the boss producers, and they were just checking me out. And I said, yeah, you go next. And he said, no, it's all right. And he left. And I didn't ever think about it as a test until I read it to him about 2 years later. He said, remember me? I brought that girl up there? Yeah. I said, what was all that about? He said, they wanted to find out which way you floated, you know. And I said, Jesus Christ. It's too bad I was good the first time. Well, I was lonely up there because I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. I wasn't allowed to tell anybody anything. You say anything, the deal's off.
So once you got the role...
Now there's a funny story.
You got a few.
No, I was hanging out in Paris at the time, and there was a bunch of Americans and Swedish people I was hanging out with who spoke English. And they'd been looking for me because I hadn't been around for 4 months. And I went back to Paris to get out, and they said, you know, don't say anything to anybody. The deal's off. And I'm in Paris, and I'm in a restaurant at the La Capelle in Paris, and there's about 10 of us at the table. They said, George, where the hell have you been? We're looking everywhere for you. I said, I was up for the Bond role. And they said, oh, really? Did you get it? I said, yeah. And they all laughed. I said, thank God for that, because I wasn't supposed to tell anybody. They didn't believe it. So, that was the funny story.
Just a couple more minutes, Rachel, and we'll come to you.